American Comics, Saiyan powers shock Spider-Gwen and the universe. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 1. My Name is Gwen. The United States, New York, Queens. Jingle bell. Jingle bell. The doorbell of a detached villa is being constantly rang, but there is no response for a long time. In front of the door was an extremely beautiful girl with short blonde hair, a white shirt, and a short sports skirt. The youth and beauty of this age group were vividly displayed. However, the girl's exquisite face became darker and darker as time went by. "Father, wait for me here. I'll wake Wuming up. He must be sleeping in again." Shouting to the police car at the door, the girl took out the key from her pocket and skillfully opened the door. "Go through the living room, come to the second floor, and push the door to enter the master bedroom of this house." Sure enough, even breathing came from the bed. A black-haired young man was sleeping soundly. His handsome facial features brightened his eyes. But the most attractive thing is that perfect body of muscles. It is full of strength and has graceful curves. The file size is also moderate, and it is not exaggerated like an overfit athlete at all. Even though she grew up together, she still blushed when she saw with her own eyes how the young man cultivated this muscular girl little by little. Reluctantly, Rua stretched her chest muscles, which were not much smaller than hers, and the girl shouted vigorously, "Wuming! Get up soon. Why can't you get hard?" "My doorbell almost broke. Fuck. I get hard, why can't I get hard?" The boy, who was still in a drowsy sleep, got up from the bed in a jerk. "Gwen, there are some things you can't talk nonsense. I'm going to get up now. I'm going to cook. You, go and wash up. If you haven't cleaned up after I'm done, you know the consequences." Gwen ignored any of the boy's excuses and issued an ultimatum. After shaking Wuming vigorously, she walked downstairs quickly and went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Due to time constraints, she could only make some simple sandwiches. She can guarantee that she is more familiar with everything here than the owner, Sun Wuming. After hearing Gwen's threat, the teenager also climbed out of bed resignedly, walked into the bathroom and began to wash. Sun Wuming, a time traveler. When he participated in a comic exhibition, he bought a set of Dragon Ball figures. Looking at the neatly arranged 7 Dragon Balls, Sun Wuming suddenly had a second stroke. Like in the anime, he made a wish to become a Saiyan, and as a result, with a flash of golden light, he traveled to this world and became an abandoned orphan. The Dragon Balls granted his wish and indeed gave him a Saiyan physique. Not only that, but also all the training memories of Sun Wukong before he transformed into Super 2, and also presented the iconic tail by the way. Make Sun Wuming a Saiyan with no flaws. The only thing that went wrong was that the world he came to was not the Dragon Ball world, but the Marvel world. This is what he realized when he visited the museum and saw the famous buttocks of the United States. The house where it is now is also the inheritance left to him by the grandmother who adopted Sun Wuming after her death. It's a good start for Sun Wuming. Although the Marvel world is dangerous, according to Sun Wuming's observation for many years, it is closer to the movie world, and there is no mutant yet. It can't be said how safe it is, but at least it is much better than the Dragon Ball world. You must know that the Blue Star humans in the Dragon Ball world are really miserable, and they don't know how many times they have been resurrected by Shenlong. Moreover, he traveled earlier, and it is only 2008 now, so he has enough time to develop. Tony Sherdache is still working on the identification of the cover girl, and he has not become the Iron Man who opened a new era. Wuming, are you ready? Dad is still waiting outside. Gwen's call came from downstairs. Sun Wuming casually combed his hair, changed his vest, put on his wrist guards, and casually put on a short sleeve, and walked downstairs quickly. "Take the sandwich and go, we're going to be late." Gwen put the sandwich she just made into Sun Wuming's hands, and pushed him towards the door. The breeze slightly lifted the girl's skirt, and Sun Wuming glanced at it. "Well, safety pants, that's about it. If you make me late on the first day, you can wash the clothes for this semester yourself." Gwen didn't notice his little movements, and was still chattering nonstop. Sun Wuming immediately raised his hands to express his surrender, walked quickly a few steps, opened the back door of the police car and got in. Looking at the white young man sitting in the driver's seat with his face darkened, he greeted him as if nothing happened. "Yo, Uncle George. Damn, actually eating a sandwich made by my daughter. I don't even get this treatment." George Stacy, Gwen Stacy's father, is also the chief of the police department in the area. Sun Wuming is not surprised that he became Gwen Stacy's childhood sweetheart. He's time traveled. What's wrong with getting a wife at the beginning? Sun Wukong also has Chi-Chi. Is there something wrong with Sun Wuming having Gwen? Nothing wrong. To meet his fate, Sun Wuming doesn't care what important role you have in the so-called plot. This is a real world, and since Gwen met him, everything will be different in the future. "Sorry Dad, I kept you waiting, let's go to school." Gwen got into the car and said something to his father. Officer George, who had been gnashing his teeth, immediately responded with a smile on his face and started the car. TSK, daughter slave is like this. Even though it was very unpleasant to see Sun Wuming, George could only restrain his little thoughts in front of Gwen. The car moves fast and runs very smoothly. Sun Wuming finished the sandwich in a few mouthfuls, and Gwen obviously knew his appetite, so he handed over another one. Fearing that Sun Wuming would choke, he turned on his water bottle to tell him not to eat dry food. Mr. George, who was driving, saw this scene, and his back molars were about to be crushed with hatred. He dreamed of getting such considerate treatment, but he never got it. Brat! Damn you! Episode 2. As a Scion, it is normal to eat soft food, right? Any father who sees his little cabbage taking the initiative to court others will probably be in Mr. George's current state of mind. Since entering junior high school and getting to know Sun Wuming, my daughter has undergone huge amounts of changes. The little Princess Gwen, who doesn't know any housework, wants to take care of Sun Wuming, who is even more idiotic than her. It turned into a little padded jacket who is proficient in washing and cooking. It's a pity that this little padded jacket skipped this step of Wuri's father and flew directly onto someone else. But no matter how unwilling he was, Mr. George could only endure in silence for the sake of harmony in the relationship between father and daughter. I don't know what kind of ecstasy this brat gave Gwen. Looking at Sun Wuming sitting in the back seat with silly fun, Mr. George couldn't tear himself apart. The police car arrived on the road in front of Midtown High School 10 minutes before class started. "Thank you, Dad. Don't be polite to me, Gwen. I'm sorry I can't pick you up this afternoon, you know, the police station," Mr. George said apologetically, and Gwen was very sensible and said that it was all right, she could go back with Sun Wuming. When Gwen and Sun Wuming got out of the car, they immediately attracted the attention of many students. One is a beautiful schoolmaster, and the other is a handsome guy who is so strong that girls drool. In the land of the United States, there is no future for gigolos. Only strong muscles and a masculine appearance can stimulate their hormones. Sun Wuming's ancestral Saiyan muscles are in existence that can make countless women's legs weak when they see it. And Gwen didn't give up too much. Short blonde hair, delicate and small face, combined with her unique heroic spirit. 90% of the boys at Midtown High School consider her their goddess. Unfortunately, the goddess already has a master. Su Wuming also looked at the girl beside him, especially staying on those white and slender thighs for 3 more seconds. Too bad I didn't wear white silk. Otherwise, he would only have a 4-word evaluation. Show off my mouth. Go. Don't waste time. Feeling Su Wuming's burning eyes, Gwen was also a little shy. Grabbing his hand, he ran towards the classroom building. The sun was still shining on the boy and the girl, making them indistinguishable from each other. "Morning, Stacy. Morning, Hannah. Morning, Sunday. Well, who are you here?" It can be seen that Gwen is very popular in the class. Many students greeted each other, and many people greeted Sun Wuming. But after 2.5 years, there are only a handful of names he can remember. The school system of the United States is 2 years in junior high school and 4 years in high school. This year is Sun Wuming's 3rd year in high school, and also his 17th year in this world. Walking to the penultimate row of seats by the window, after Sun Wuming sat down, the Albanian student in the front row turned his head and asked excitedly in a low voice, "Son, I heard that you came with Gwen today, and you were still in her father's car. Are you two living together?" "Nunera, the smell of your curry smells to me. Damn it. Do you want to eat curry early in the morning?" Sun Wuming frowned and backed away, and kicked Nunera forward, widening the distance between the two. "It's normal to eat curry in the morning, don't do this, just tell me." Nunera didn't care either, and continued to ask gossip. In fact, most people in the school have long defaulted that Sun Wuming and Gwen are a couple. But being sent to school by parents like this was the first time he was so blatant. Well, in fact, there were also before, but every time Mr. George would stop at the intersection in front of him and let the two of them walk to the school. "It's just too late today." "Yes, Ms. Gwen spent a wonderful night with me yesterday, it's okay." Sun Wuming rolled his eyes and said angrily, causing screams, "Wow, Sun. It's yours." Gwen ran over and pinched Sun Wuming in embarrassment. "Don't listen to Wuming's nonsense, we are just dropping by." Another blonde beauty in the class didn't think it was a big deal to watch the excitement, and booed. "Son, I have much more experience than Gwen. Would you like to come to me first? I can make you more mature." Sun Wuming looked horrified. "Fake, Sophia, I don't want to be on your list." Sophia is also a popular figure in the school, with blonde hair and blue eyes, big waves, not bad, and the Chinese zodiac belongs to the bus. And he didn't feel ashamed at all. He generously compiled a ranking list for the boys in the class, and made a lot of judgments. She even thought about expanding the list to include schools. Sun Wuming, who has a perfect body and good looks, is naturally what she wants to taste, but it's a pity that Sun Wuming can't mess with this kind of stuff. Not to mention the attributes of the bus, even its appearance, figure, and temperament. Gwen and his family can beat Sonia by several blocks. Soon, the arrival of the teacher ended the noise in the class. Opening a page of the book at random, Sun Wuming's mind was completely empty, and he began to meditate. "It is impossible to learn, he is a Saiyan, what is the use of learning these crap? Only a brainless Saiyan can become the strongest. I can only practice honestly, and in the future I will become a super race to barely survive." "Mr. Sun, you answer this question." "No, don't ask me, ask Gwen." Sun Wuming didn't even open his eyes, he just opened his mouth and pushed back. The whole class roared with laughter. The teacher's hands were shaking with anger, but there was nothing he could do about Sun Wuming. This kid's identity is very mysterious, even the headmaster wants to talk to him kindly. As a part-time worker, he could only swallow his anger. "Miss Stacy, come here. This question involves the calculation formula of decay rate." The teacher's face also changed a lot, and appreciation flashed in his eyes. Miss Stacy is different from reckless people like Sun Wuming. She not only participates in various activities, but also keeps her academic performance among the top 3 in the school all year round, loved by teachers. "Wuming, I think you need to get serious. You will apply for university next semester. I don't want you to become a vagrant in the future. After school, Gwen walked side by side with Sun Wuming and discussed with him very seriously. You will support me, Gwen, you will. Sun Wuming looked at the girl's pretty face and blinked. The deep black eyes were like swirls, making Gwen's heart beat faster. I won't. I don't want my future husband to be a house husband. Avoid Sun Wuming's deep noodle shop, Gwen said arrogantly. The young man smiled. It turns out that you are cultivating me at the request of your husband. Then I have to work hard. Only then did the girl realize that she had missed something. Her pretty face flushed anxiously, and she reached out to pat Sun Wuming to cover up her inner embarrassment. The two fought all the way, and when they came to the campus, they happened to meet students who were getting together and booing. Episode 3. This year is 17. I am afraid that the campus is not violent enough. Eat the vegetables. Gordon, hurry up. Sun Wuming is 1.86 meters tall, so he can easily pass through the crowd and see what's going on inside. A tall young man with an inch cut was pressing the thin young man with glasses on the dinner plate, forcing him to eat the leftovers on the plate. The surrounding students watched this scene excitedly. Not only did no one step forward to stop them, but they kept clapping and applauding. No wonder it is always said that most Europeans and Americans are barbarians who have not evolved fully. The more violent things are, the more excited they are. Isn't that what it is now? Sun Wuming, the protagonist of the two incidents, also knew each other. The name of the one being bullied is unknown, but it is indeed his classmate. It's the kind of young man who can only learn, doesn't cause trouble, doesn't make trouble, and doesn't have much social life. Perhaps in Longua, such a child is very lovable, the teacher likes it, and the parents are at ease. They are usually called other people's children, but put it in the United States, this is the perfect bullying target. And the bully is the captain of the school's basketball team, an athlete who has become a bully on campus, with his strong physique. Lightning Thompson. Sun Wuming remembered him because this kid seemed to be some kind of hero, and he had a deep relationship with Spider-Man, but he also forgot what happened. After all, there are more superheroes than dogs in the Marvel universe, even without mutant. Walking on the streets of New York, throwing a brick casually can hit this hero or that hero. The truth is worthless. For Marvel, Sun Wuming knows the Avengers best. Telling Gwen what happened there, Gwen just frowned, but didn't mean to care. Campus bullying is very complicated. Just because you help the bullied person this time does not mean that you will be able to help every time in the future. Maybe you will do bad things with good intentions. Make bullies more brutal. Just when the two were about to bypass this group of energetic students and go home, things changed again. Peter, you came just in time. Take a picture of this scene. No, I'm not going to shoot this. Put him down. Put him down, Eugene. At the name, Thompson threw Gordon away, knocking Peter to the ground with an angry punch. Eugene is Thompson's real name, but this is a name that only Mousy would give. Thompson didn't want people to know that he still had Mousy blood, so he resented the name very much, and people always called him Lightning. Seeing Peter Parker being beaten constantly, Sun Wuming frowned, and said to Gwen beside him, "Wait here and be back soon." After speaking, Sun Wuming pushed through the crowd and came to the front, seeing that Thompson was about to punch Peter again. He rushed over immediately and kicked out. Boom! Thompson, who weighed 200 kilograms, flew out 7 or 8 meters and landed on the ground, gasping for air in pain. This was the result of Sun Wuming's efforts to restrain himself. I gave you a face, didn't you dare to hit my classmate? The cheering crowd fell silent in an instant, and it took Thompson a long time to stand up and rushed forward with fists waving. Fack, son. You're pissing me off. Boom. Another kick, and this time Thompson couldn't get up again. Don't play school bully with me. When I was school bully, you didn't know where to join the Boy Scouts, Sun Wuming sneered. When he entered Midtown Middle School, because he was Asian, many people wanted to bully him. But as a Saiyan, Sun Wuming has never been afraid of campus bullying, only hated that the campus is not violent enough. In the first year of junior high school, he cleaned up all the thorns in the school that provoked him, and became the new thorn. That is, the appearance of Gwen later made Sun Wuming restrained a lot. Otherwise, how dare Thompson speak loudly to him today? Thank you, Wuming. Peter came over to thank him, covering his face, and the crowd around him was much smaller, afraid that Sun Wuming would stare at them. You helped me with my homework for 2.5 years, what is that? If this guy dares to trouble you in the future, you can come to me. Sun Wuming patted Peter on the shoulder, walked towards where Gwen was without looking at Thompson, and finally dropped a sentence. Today's homework is also up to you, Garfield. Peter looked at Sun Wuming's back with helplessness. How many times have I told you, my name is not Garfield? He and Sun Wuming are also friends, but he doesn't know why. Sun Wuming always calls him Garfield. How easy to remember the name Peter. 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 Are you all right? Harry, Peter's school friend, hurried over. As soon as he heard that Peter and Thompson had a conflict, he immediately realized that something was wrong, but it was still a step too late. It's okay, it was Wuming who saved me. Peter shook his head. Wuming? Is that the real man in your class? Sun Wuming's toned muscles instantly appeared in Harry's mind. Upon hearing this, Peter became unhappy. Harry, I'm a real man too. You? Harry looked at his good friend who was as thin as a stick, and shook his head in disgust. You're just a buddy. Shit. I didn't expect you to have a sense of justice. On the way home, Gwen and Sun Wuming were discussing what happened just now. No, I'll take the shot, just because my friend is involved. If it's someone else, I won't even take a look. Sun Wuming shook his head. If you don't have the strength, don't stand up, otherwise you deserve to be beaten. You're right no matter what. Gwen stuck out her tongue, made a grimace, and took Sun Wuming's hand to speed up a bit. Let's hurry up. I told my mother that you are coming for dinner. It is probably ready soon. As long as I don't cook flavored fried fish, I will go. Oh, it's cold. What are you talking about? Let's go. Following Gwen all the way, the two came downstairs to a high-end apartment. Mr. George's income is quite good, and he can buy a not-so-small high-level apartment in the heart of Queens. Sun Wuming was a little skeptical. Did he have another side job, a police commissioner? There is no reason to be so rich. Episode 4. The Seder Banquet, Mr. George's Procedural Justice. Mom. Wuming and I are back. Aunt Helen, sorry to bother you again. Facing Gwen's mother, Sun Wuming still greeted Gwen's mother honestly. Helen Stacy is a middle-aged woman who still has charm. It can be seen that she must have been a big beauty when she was young. Fortunately, Gwen looks like her mother, otherwise. When the two came back, Helen was busy in the kitchen. She just said a few words casually, and let the two go to play by themselves. Gwen directly pulled Sun Wuming into her boudoir. The bedroom is not too big, only a bed, a desk and a whole wardrobe are placed. There are 2 photo frames on the table, one of which is a photo of Gwen and his family. The other one is a photo of her and Sun Wuming. The 2 people in the photo are smiling very brightly, but also a little bit young. This was taken when they went to Hawaii to play in junior high school. There is also a row of cute dolls on the bed, and the quilts are neatly folded. On the pink wall, there were a few band posters, one of which actually had Gwen and the other 2 girls. It was the school band she formed with Mary Jane and Betty Brant. Gwen used to study gymnastics, but after Sun Wuming expressed some dislikes, she switched to playing in a band. Following his gaze, Gwen was also a little embarrassed. Don't look at it, this poster is not good looking. How beautiful it is, especially against the backdrop of the 2 people next to it. Xiaoqing pointed to Mary Jane and Betty Brant, who were standing beside Gwen, who were nearly half a head shorter. Coupled with the fact that she has practiced gymnastics, the beauty of Gwen's temperament cannot be compared between the two. Hearing Su Wuming praise himself so much, Gwen was naturally very happy, but she still beat him a few times in reproach. What sets off oneself? This is the most normal group photo of the band, okay? How can I have such a scheming? Helen, who had been paying attention to the movement in the room, was quietly relieved when she heard the noise of fighting. Unlike Mr. George, Helen still likes Sun Wuming very much. He is handsome, in good health, and polite, and he is also very kind to his daughter. The most important thing is that Gwen likes him very much, and she supports them when they walk together. But it doesn't mean it's now. These 2 are still children, and she doesn't want to be a grandmother so early, at least after college. The time came to 7 o'clock in a flash, and it was almost dark before George dragged his tired body back home. After all, it is a free country, and there are countless crimes happening here every day. Robbery, drug trafficking, selling X, any profitable crime, you can definitely find a complete industrial chain in New York. According to incomplete statistics, the number of bullets consumed in New York every year can circle the blue star. As a police chief who often rushes to the front line, it is relatively early for Mr. George to come back at this point. Looking at the 4 sets of cutlery on the table, he was also taken aback. Honey, are you going to have guests at home today? There are no guests. Helen replied and knocked on Gwen's door. Children, come out to eat. Here comes mother. Under George's incredulous gaze, Sun Wuming emerged from his precious daughter's boudoir. Yo, Uncle George. Yo, your head, why are you here? And still out of my daughter's room. If it weren't for the neat clothes on Gwen, Mr. George would have made up a temporary charge and arrested this brat. Don't be stupid, come and help me serve the food. Helen called George into the kitchen and said in a low voice, don't scare Wuming. When the time comes, my daughter will have to settle accounts with you, and you will be the one who regrets it. Mr. George felt extremely pained, and suddenly found that there was no place for him at home. Why 1 or 2? I'll help that brat talk. The dinner menu is very simple, standard American steak, served with some vegetables and mashed potatoes. It was more like a family dinner. Sun Wuming doesn't care if it's rich or not, as long as there's something for him to eat. Helen also knew about Sun Wuming's appetite. His portion of steak was 36 ounces, while others only had 8 ounces. There is no saying in America that you can eat and sleep without talking, and the family can talk freely when eating. Gwen talked about the interesting things that happened in school today, including the final conflict between Sun Wuming and Lightning Thompson. Her purpose is also to add some points to Wuming and George's heart. The police should like such a just act. Unexpectedly, George frowned. Gwen, although the other party's behavior is hateful, Wuming shouldn't use violence. Tell the matter to the school, and they will deal with it fairly. Dad? Gwen's eyes were full of disbelief. She didn't expect George to say that. If suing teachers worked, would there still be so many school violence incidents in the United States every year? Don't listen to your dad's nonsense. Helen stopped George, who was about to say something, with her eyes, and then looked at her daughter tenderly. George is just afraid that you will be involved. That's what policemen do. They think that they are the only ones who have the power to enforce the law on this land. Humph, pedantic. Gwen snorted twice, and then said, anyway, what Wuming did was right. If I had the ability to stop Thompson, I would do the same. Sun Wuming, who was at the center of the topic, didn't say a word, and concentrated on dealing with the stake in front of him. Facing his daughter in the rebellious period, Mr. George had no choice but to change the subject. The dinner ended in a slightly awkward atmosphere. After dinner, Gwen sent Sun Wuming downstairs. "Sorry, Wuming, Dad didn't mean to target you." Gwen apologized to Sun Wuming for Mr. George's remarks just now, but the person concerned shook his head indifferently. Different positions and different views. Uncle George is a policeman, so he naturally cares more about procedural justice. My words are purely out of interest, don't think so much. Procedural justice. Gwen was thoughtful when she heard this sentence. "It's getting late, go back quickly, I'll take a taxi and go home." Sun Wuming rubbed the girl's blonde hair, feeling very good. Gwen was a little dissatisfied that her hairstyle was messed up, but she didn't move away. "Okay then, see you tomorrow." After thinking about it, Gwen still gave the boy a hug. The nephrite is in the bosom, and the fragrance is tangy. Gwen's voice was a little shy. "Don't think too much, this is just to make up for you." Episode 5. Ancient One is out, I am invincible in the world. Watching Gwen go upstairs, Sun Wuming came to a quiet and dark alley. With his right hand, he raised his sword and pointed between his eyebrows, and then his figure disappeared in place. Whoosh! In just a moment, Sun Wuming's figure suddenly appeared on his lawn. The sound of the neighbor watching TV came into his ears clearly. "Well, it's still R18. I have to say that Laomei's program is really exciting, especially after 12 o'clock, it's really, tut-tut. It's a pity that they all need money, and Sun Wuming will not be in a hurry to send money to these capitalists. He can prostitute his neighbor for free. That guy looks at it every day and is almost malnourished." When he got home, the first thing Sun Wuming did was to take out his mobile phone and skillfully call the surrounding restaurants to order food. In 2008, there were not so many food delivery software, so we could only make calls one by one. 10 largest pizzas, 30 burgers, and 200 fried chicken nuggets. As a Saiyan, you don't have to do anything else, but this appetite is definitely not much worse. It's not that I don't want to eat Chinese food, it's just that the Chinese food that travels across the ocean has become very strange in order to cater to the tastes of foreigners. What General Tso's chicken, Central Plains awful. After eating it a few times, Sun Wuming gave up on it. There are also some authentic Chinese restaurants, but they are all near Chinatown, which is really far from his home. In order to save time, he usually eats these junk foods, which are high in calories and more suitable for him. Due to the large amount of demand, it took more than an hour for the takeaway ordered by Sun Wuming to be delivered. After a fierce meal, the food piled up into a hill was quickly stuffed into his stomach. Sun Wuming patted his unchanging stomach until he finished eating, and said with satisfaction, "Comfortable, I'm full now." Without any intention of resting, Sun Wuming simply packed up and threw the takeaway box outside, turned around and entered the basement. The space of hundreds of square meters is occupied by all kinds of randomly placed equipment. It looks no different from an ordinary gym, except that the types are more complete, but in fact, all the equipment here is specially customized, and a small iron plate weighs hundreds of caddies. Putting on the unique Guasian-style martial arts uniform, Sun Wuming started his unshakable practice. With one finger on the ground and 1,000 gene counterweight on his body, Sun Wuming's figure kept rising and falling, and his speed was getting faster and faster. After a while, sweat dripped from his forehead and the ground was wet. Science, or the cultivation in the world of Dragon Ball, is very simple, that is to temper the chi in the body. Chi is a kind of magical energy, contained in all living beings. It can be as small as maintaining the normal operation of life, or as big as destroying stars and destroying the universe with one blow. And if you want to enhance the chi in your body, improving your physical fitness is the fastest way. As the vitality increases, the strength of chi also increases. As a Saiyan, Sun Wuming has unique advantages. Even if he does not exercise, his body will develop naturally, and he will be much stronger than humans when he reaches adulthood. What's more, he has consciously started exercising according to the memory of Sun Wukong's practice in his mind since elementary school. Up to now, his physical fitness has reached an extremely terrifying situation. At 2 o'clock in the morning, Sun Wuming, who was sweating profusely, left the basement, went into the bathroom, and took a comfortable hot bath. Lying in the bathtub, his eyes were slightly closed, and he was a little worried. The current exercise effect is getting worse and worse. If you wait for your strength to reach a higher level, such stress-free exercise may not even have a little effect. Difficult. Now he is using the most expensive and specially customized equipment, but even so, he still can't keep up with the speed of strength improvement. By comparing the memories in his mind, Sun Wuming also has a relatively clear understanding of his own strength. He is now obviously stronger than Monkey King, who just finished using the Super God Water and defeated Old Piccolo. It is also weaker than the adult Wukong, who has experienced hard training from the gods and defeated the young Piccolo. Say strong is not strong, say weak is not weak. This is a bit embarrassing. The same is true on the current Blue Star. He doesn't pay attention to ordinary minions at all, but he faces big guys like Ancient One and Odin. He, Sun Wuming, is also a minion. Now Sun Wuming dares to point at everyone on the earth and shout, "Ancient One boss, please stand up, everyone here is rubbish. If you want to be truly invincible in this world, you must become a Super Saiyan, or even the later forms. The Tenjin Group, the 5 great gods, and even the Tribunal of Life and the Transcendence are not something ordinary Super Saiyans can deal with. It's not even close." But Sun Wuming doesn't have to worry. This kind of existence is generally similar to the background board, without major changes. They will not appear in the real world rashly. "Did you also come to this world with me?" Holding an apple file-sized golden crystal ball in his hand, with a star inside, Sun Wuming murmured softly. There is no doubt that this is Dragon Ball, one-star Dragon Ball. When someone picked it up, this one-star Dragon Ball appeared beside Sun Wuming. His time travel has nothing to do with Dragon Ball, plus this one in his hand. Sun Wuming had an intuition that the 7 Dragon Balls followed him into this world. It's just that he has been looking for it for many years, but there has been no news. Forget it, don't want to. Crash. Getting up from the bathtub, revealing his muscular body, after drying off briefly, Sun Wuming went to bed. Even without Dragon Balls, as long as you practice hard, you don't need any wishes. After figuring this out, Sun Wuming's mind became much smoother, and he soon fell asleep. Episode 6. Don't worry, I'm not interested in other blonde beauties. The next day, George acted as a driver again, escorting his daughter to school with some brat. But maybe it was last night when Gwen went back and told him about the conversation between her and Sun Wuming. Mr. George took a rare pleasing look at Sun Wuming and chatted with him a few more times. Boy, the procedural justice you mentioned yesterday is very interesting. Did you come up with it yourself? No, I don't have this awareness. I heard it from a professor, Sun Wuming replied while eating breakfast. Which professor? I want to listen to his lecture when I'm free. Oh, it's Zhang San, a professor from Longhua. You should find his video online if you search online. Hey, Wuming. At the school gate, Sun Wuming turned his head and saw Peter Parker standing beside an old man, waving at him. Uncle Ben, then I'll go first, Peter said to his uncle, and rushed across the road impatiently. Looking at the classmate whom his nephew greeted, Ben Parker also nodded politely. Coming to Sun Wuming and Gwen, Peter secretly took out 2 exercise books and put them in Sun Wuming's school bag. This is homework due in a while. Thanks, Garfield. Call me on. Stop calling me Garfield. I don't know that person at all. Okay, Garfield. Parker, you help Wuming with homework again. How many times have I told you? Don't help the tyrant again. Gwen frowned, very unhappy. The old lady was trying to persuade Wuming to make progress, and you were making trouble there. Be honest. Facing Gwen's reprimand, Peter's face turned bitter. Student Stacy, you know, Wuming just helped me yesterday. Calling by the first name represents a close relationship, and calling by the last name is a normal classmate, colleague, or just met. Then you can't. Gwen wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Sun Wuming, who was in the middle. Okay, Gwen, it's not like you don't know me. Even if Peter doesn't write it for me, I can't write it myself. Sun Wuming spread his hands. It is not so much that Peter is helping me. It is better to say that he is helping the teacher so that he will not be so embarrassed. Seeing that he was so confident and plausible that he didn't do his homework, Gwen also laughed angrily. But he really didn't bother Peter again, which made him relieved. In the distance, Lightning Thompson clenched his fists as he watched the 3 of them talking and laughing happily as they walked towards the teaching building. After yesterday's incident, he was called in by a vice principal and severely criticized. He was even revoked as the basketball captain. But Sun Wuming, who beat someone up, did nothing. He was angry and scared, because the principal said if he messes with Sun Wuming again, he will be prepared to record a serious demerit and even be expelled from school. Thompson didn't understand why the principal would be so flattering to a student. Well, if Sun Wuming knew what he was thinking, he would definitely tell him the answer. It's very simple. As long as you donate $500,000 to the school every year, you can also get this kind of treatment. In class, Sun Wuming fished daily, lying on the table motionless. It looks like you are sleeping, but you are actually practicing. Under Sun Wuming's perception, every living body around exudes a faint aura. Queens, Manhattan, New York, the entire state, and even the capital next door. As long as Sun Wuming is willing, his perception of chi can spread to the entire eastern part of the United States. Don't think that this range is very large. Sun Wukong is separated by countless planets. As long as you remember the opponent's chi, you can get the perception. If you can't exercise in school, Sun Wuming will improve his control over chi through meditation. The teacher naturally saw Sun Wuming's distraction, but as long as it doesn't disturb other students, ordinary teachers don't care. Except for going out for a meal with Gwen at noon, Sun Wuming just lay down for another day. Before school was over, the biology teacher stopped the students who couldn't wait to get ready to participate in various activities, and announced, Osborne Group will open some laboratories on the visit day on Saturday. Students who are interested in knowing more can contact me to sign up. This is a great opportunity. If you are favored by the researchers there, you can also become intern assistants like Stacy, which will be very helpful for applying to universities in the future. Gwen smiled shyly, feeling a little embarrassed to be used as a role model. Hearing what the teacher said, there were indeed many students who asked him to sign up, such as Peter. Peter is also considered a bully in elementary school, especially in the 2 subjects of biology and physics. He often gets full marks. aren't you going this weekend? At night, Gwen was lying on the bed, shaking her white legs and calling Sun Wuming. What do I do? In biology, I only know how to extend life. Everything else is a Bible. With that time, I might as well sleep in. The speed of the car was too fast, and Gwen blushed directly at the words, but it was a pity that Sun Wuming couldn't appreciate it. Are you sure you're sleeping at home instead of going to some blonde beauty to discuss the continuation of life? Sun Wuming, who was exercising, was holding dumbbells, and his mobile phone was on the ground and turned on hands-free. Hearing Gwen's slightly vigilant temptation, he couldn't help laughing. Don't worry, I'm not interested in other blondes. If it's not blonde, I can't guarantee it, Sun Wuming thought to himself. Only then did Gwen smile with satisfaction, and it wasn't because she was suspicious, but mainly because Sun Wuming was so popular in the girls' circle. Usually when chatting with friends, Gwen can often hear these nympho girls dreaming about Sun Wuming, and then drooling wildly. The vigilance is naturally greatly improved. This is a pig she has raised for several years. How can she go for another cabbage? The two talked on the phone for a long time before Gwen reluctantly hung up the phone under Helen's urging. As for Sun Wuming, they also dropped their equipment. Although he has not reached the normal amount of exercise, he has more important things to do today. Put on a black exercise suit, and through the perfect control of the muscles, change your face into another person's appearance. Unremarkable, far from his original handsomeness, Sun Wuming's figure flashed and disappeared into the room. Episode 7. Continental Hotel, Killer, Peach Bye-Bye. In Manhattan, a corner of Wall Street, a hotel with an ordinary appearance is located here. In this piece of land where every inch of land is expensive, the entrance of this hotel is very deserted, and no guest has entered for a long time. A lot of boring people have even opened a market, betting on when this hotel will go out of business. But even after so many years, this no-school hotel still stands here. After changing his face, Sun Wuming walked out of a dark alley and entered the hotel gate. In the hall, there were quite a few people in suits and leather shoes, chatting with wine glasses, but when they saw Sun Wuming, their voices subconsciously lowered a lot. Many people even showed fear and left the hall in a panic. Ignoring the gazes of the people around, Sun Wuming came directly to the front desk. The black manager standing at the front desk showed a smile. What a lucky day today, not only the old friend is back, but even Mr. Tao Bye-Bye is here. Such a special day should be recorded in the diary of the Continental Hotel. Long time no see, Sharon. Sun Wuming nodded, and asked curiously, old friend, can you tell me who it is? Sharon still maintained a professional smile. I'm sorry Mr. Tabayabye, you know the rules, but I believe you will also be happy to see this old friend. Sun Wuming curled his lips. If you don't tell me, he will just watch it by himself. After searching the air in the entire hotel, he did find a familiar feeling, and soon remembered the identity of the other party, and smiled. You're right. It's really surprising. Help me call him down for a drink later. Your will, sir. Is there anything I can do to help you? Sun Wuming handed over several gold coins made of pure gold. Find me some suitable tasks. It's still the same. The difficulty doesn't matter. The closer the better. In addition, I need to customize a batch of equipment. Sharon took the gold coin and said after some operations on the computer, room number 820, you can rest for a while, the equipment department still needs some time. Sun Wuming took the key card, turned around and walked into the elevator. And after he left, someone finally couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked, what is this person's origin? Why did Trevor and Old Mai run away? The people next to him gave him a disdainful look. Tao Bye-Bye doesn't even know. What kind of New York killer circle are you working with? Go back to Texas to farm as soon as possible. What? He is Tao Bye-Bye? The person who asked the question couldn't help exclaiming, and an indescribable fear appeared in his eyes. Tao Bye-Bye, the most famous killer in New York these years. Dozens of shots have been made, and there is no record of any failure. As long as it is the target he is following, he can directly declare that he is waiting for death. The most frightening thing was that Tao Bye-Bye didn't know how to use any firearms yet. With purely strong fighting skills, the melee ability made this step even more unpredictable. Well, Tao Bye-Bye is naturally Sun Wuming's vest. The name is also a tribute. Life is not easy, but Wuming is a performer. Feeding a Saiyan is no easy task. For food alone, Sun Wuming will spend tens of thousands of dollars a month, plus medicinal baths, nutrient solutions, and training equipment. Being poor and rich is not just talk. After several twists and turns, Sun Wuming finally found a job that suits him best a few years ago. Scavenger. And here, the Continental Hotel is a task release platform. Any registered member can receive or issue tasks at the Continental Hotel. At the same time, no one can perform tasks in the hotel, and the hotel will protect the safety of every guest, which is equivalent to a neutral security zone. Something special is that the common currency of the Continental Hotel is not US dollars, but customized gold coins. If you want to enjoy any service, you need to pay gold coins as a price. For Sun Wuming, the best thing about Continental Hotel is that there are many tasks, the way is wild, and the service is good. It can also help him customize special equipment. The training equipment like those at home came from the Continental Hotel. The reason for coming here this time is also very simple. Sun Wuming once again made himself poor. In addition to tens of millions of dollars in stocks, his cash on hand is less than 100,000 US dollars. Money is hard to earn and shit is hard to eat. In order not to starve to death, after half a year of retirement, Sun Wuming had to come out again to be a hardworking killer. The hotel staff were extremely efficient and orders that met his requirements were delivered quickly. Kidnapping, too troublesome and time-consuming. Assassination, in Washington, too lazy to go. This has something to do with flour, go to hell. A sheet of A4 paper was fed into the shredder by Sun Wuming, and he was not very satisfied with these tasks. He doesn't take any tasks either. Those who take a long time will not be accepted, those who pay less money will not be accepted, and those who are underage will not be accepted. As for what mission target is good and evil, whether it is innocent, it's none of his business. Finally, when turning to the last few pages, Sun Wuming found a good job. Kill the 2 leaders of Hell's Kitchen Bear Brotherhood, the first leader Vladimir 2 million US dollars, and the second leader Anatoly 1.5 million US dollars, followed by some target people's living habits, activity areas. The 2 people add up to 3.5 million, which is not a low price, enough for Sun Wuming to use for a while. The only problem is, looking at the 2 people in the photo, Sun Wuming's prosopagnosia broke out. These boys all look alike. If a group of boys mix together, he can't tell who is the target at all. Although he could kill them all, but the mission asked him to kill 2 people. Wouldn't it be a loss to kill him all? However, after reading the information, it is determined that the 2 mission targets are fat sheep, and they should be able to earn a lot of extra money. Sun Wuming still decided to continue the task. Integrate some John Wick worldviews. The space will not be too much. I just want to make the world more exciting, and give the protagonist a place to make money by the way. Episode 8. Face blindness. Sun Wuming, a tragedy caused by a dog. Hey Sharon, it's me, Mr. Tao bye. Please tell me. I took the mission of Mousy Brotherhood. Don't let other people interfere. Otherwise don't blame me if you kill by mistake. Without waiting for the other party to answer, Sun Wuming hung up the phone. Sometimes killers fight for a mission in order to grab performance. The reason why Tabayabai is so famous is because Sun Wuming killed dozens of competitors directly when he was doing missions. After walking out of the room, he was going to see his old friend next door. This old friend's current condition was not very good. When they came to the corridor, they could hear the muffled sounds of fighting and screaming very clearly. Sun Wuming didn't stop, kicked open the door of room 808, and Shiran walked in. A man and a woman who were wrestling together in the room were all stunned and looked over blankly. Among them, the man even cried out in surprise. Woo, Peach White? I haven't seen you for a few years, it's so late, John. Sun Wuming shrugged and looked at the man with a smile on his face. How is it? Do you need my help? Hearing what he said, the woman's face changed slightly, and while John Wick was distracted, she kicked him away, rolled to the broken glass, and picked up the pistol that fell on the ground, then lifted up and aimed at Sun Wuming. The movement is quite silky, and done in one go. Careful, John yelled, but it was too late. Boom. 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 3 consecutive shots were fired, and sparks appeared from the muzzle of the gun. Sun Wuming seemed to move, but didn't seem to move. The 2 of them just felt a flash in front of their eyes, and then nothing happened. No, it's impossible. The woman's face was full of disbelief. Her 3 shots, but 2 shots in the chest, 1 shot in the head, standard Mozambique shooting skills. Why didn't a single shot hit? Obviously Sun Wuming didn't make any moves. Perkins, you asked for it. Originally, I wanted to save your life. Sun Wuming said slowly, spread out his right hand casually, and 3 crushed bullet casings fell to the ground, making a jingling sound. Perkins' pupils suddenly contracted. She remembered the legend about Tao Bai. This person is like a ghost, and it is impossible for him to be harmed by ordinary hot weapons. Someone once sent an elite team to surround and kill him, but in the end, Peach Bye walked out of the abandoned factory unscathed. Originally, Perkins thought it was just rumors and exaggerated rhetoric, but today she saw it. This is not a rumor. Not a rumor. Perkins is already thinking of quitting and is ready to give up the business, but Sun Wuming will not give her such a chance. Since he dared to attack him, there was no need to stay in this world. Boom. Appeared next to Perkins as if teleporting, and punched her in the stomach, without the slightest hint of sympathy. Perkins's eyes were bulging, almost staring out of their sockets, and his stomach was overwhelmed. Wait, she's still useful. Before John could finish speaking, Sun Wuming moved much faster than him, with a little force in his fist, like throwing garbage, and threw Perkins out of the window. Why, you still want to take advantage of the heat? Perkins is indeed in good shape. After all this was done, Sun Wuming turned around and met John with helpless eyes. Wuming, stop joking, I'm not in the mood now. But anyway, it's nice to see you. John gave Sun Wuming a hug. He didn't kill him just because he wanted to ask some information about Wig, which is why Perkins can survive till now. It's a pity that I ran into Sun Wuming. Okay, if you want to know something, just ask that old fox Winston. When something like this happened at the Continental Hotel, he must make up for it. Let's go and have a drink with me. John put his hands on his hips and shook his head helplessly. It can only be the So, because of a dog, you killed dozens of your former boss's subordinates, and you plan to kill his son before retiring? In the nightclub, Sun Wuming held a glass of juice and listened to John Wick telling his story. On the stage, the sexy dancer shook her hot body, causing screams after waves. However, neither of them had any intention of watching. No, it's not just a dog, it's a gift from my late wife, and it's the meaning of my life. John drank the whiskey in his glass and looked at Sun Wuming again. It's you. Although I've retired these years, hearing Tao Bai-Bai's name makes my ears callous. Life is forced. If it is not for lack of money, who would want to come to this poor place? The communication between the two is very casual, like old friends for many years. And so it is. A few years ago, John Wick hadn't retired and was the most famous killer in New York, and Sun Wuming has just entered the industry. Although he is very strong, he also made a lot of jokes. For example, because of face blindness, instead of killing the target's elder brother, he killed the younger brother who was the mission issuer. By chance, John Wick heard Sun Wuming's voice was very young, like a primary school student, and persuaded Sun Wuming to change his ways, then got beaten up. They didn't know each other, and the two became good friends. John taught Sun Wuming a lot of experience. Even though most of them are not needed, Sun Wuming still received this kindness. Later, when John wanted to retire, his former boss Big posted an impossible task. Sun Wuming provided billions of little help, and John was able to escape unscathed. It also made John always grateful to him. For recognized friends, Sun Wuming will naturally no longer hide his identity. After John retired, he showed his true face. He usually changes his face to avoid troubles, not because he is afraid of anyone. This also makes John suspect that he has been in life for a long time, and his feelings for this Sun Wuming. Are you really a primary school student? The king of elementary school student killers. This world is ridiculous enough. Episode 9. Something scarier than fighting Thanos, asking for flowers, asking for votes. Do you need my help? Sun Wuming drank his own juice, looked at the middle-aged man in front of him and asked seriously. When Sun Wuming first discovered the Continental Hotel, he realized that this world also integrated the worldview of John Wick. And John Wick is the protagonist of this plot. For the sake of a dog, he first killed the underworld, then engaged in the mafia, and finally almost destroyed the high table of the Continental Hotel. You can mess with John Wick, but you can't mess with his dog. If it's just a simple ordinary world, Sun Wuming believes that with the aura of the protagonist and the extreme killing skills of human beings, John was able to get away with facing the high table. But this is an integrated world. Even if there are no mutants, there are always all kinds of weird people who gain inhuman power through weird ways. The poor rely on mutation, and the rich rely on technology. Who knows if the gangster that John provoked has any cards in his hand? I appreciate your kindness, bye. John Wick shook his head, his eyes full of melancholy and vicissitudes, but this is my personal matter, and I must end it with my own hands. Take my dog's life, and I will take your dog's life. In this matter, John will not rely on other people's hands. Well, come to my house if you are in danger. You should remember the address. Definitely. John raised his glass to express his gratitude, and then drank it down. After thinking about it for a while, he said with some sadness, the biggest problem now is the clues. Perkins is dead, and I can't find Vig and his useless son. What's the hurry? The person who sent the clue has already arrived. Sun Wuming snapped his fingers. Waiter, have another glass of orange juice. Remember it on my account. From now on, I will bear all the expenses of Mr. Tao Bai-Bai in the bar. I will take it as a small apology for the unpleasant night. An old voice came from behind, and the old man sat next to John, raised a glass, and clinked with him. Mr. Wick, I didn't expect to see you again in 4 years. Nice to meet again, Winston. The person who came was the manager of the New York Continental Hotel, Winston. Sun Wuming nuzzled. This is not to send information. Winston smiled slightly. That's true. Perkins has done something too much. Even though she has paid the price, it is still the Continental Hotel's dereliction of duty. Just accept this little information, Mr. Wick. He took out a piece of paper and put it on the bar. John Wick opened it and saw the address on it. His expression relaxed a lot. Thanks, Winston. Bye. I'm going back to my room first. You talk to Winston, and I'll visit you after I finish dealing with my injury. Sun Wuming waved his hand and watched John leave. He and Winston were the only ones left at the bar, and the waiter didn't know when he would quietly retreat. Old man, how did you think about what I told you last time? Give me some information about the owners of the high table seats. I will kill them, and then you will take the position and do things for me. Sun Wuming has read Das Kapital as a killer can make some money. Be the boss. Go exploit. To make big money. Once the Winston he supported had a seat on the high table, he would eat away at it step by step and become an elder, taking the entire high table for his own use. That's how to actually make money. What? You said why didn't Sun Wuming do it himself? He is a Saiyan, how could he do such a low-B thing? Even if you do it, you can't let others know, otherwise it would be embarrassing to spread it. Winston smiled wryly. This is not the first time Sun Wuming persuaded him. Bye, can I call you that? Although I long for that position, I can't do something that betrays the high table, which violates the rules. You know, in the dark world, the most important thing is to obey the rules. Without rules, what's the difference between that man and beast? Sun Wuming smiled disdainfully. That's you. Maybe facing a big shot like Ancient One, he has to keep his tail between his legs. Oh, and he has no tail. But apart from the group of magicians living in seclusion in the snow-capped mountains, he didn't dare to move at will, and the dark world that Winston talked about could not threaten his existence. The old man was cowardly on the one hand, and on the other hand, he felt that he might not have such strength. After pondering for a moment, Winston said, I heard that you have accepted Brother Vladimir's mission. Well, as long as you complete the mission and get out unscathed, I can reveal something as a friend. Winston knew that the relationship behind the Mousy brothers was very complicated, involving two underground kings in New York. Even so, if Sun Wuming is safe and sound, then he does have ability as his boss. That's a deal. Sun Wuming got up and threw out a coin as a tip. It just so happens that you are here, so accompany me to the equipment department to have a look. Those guys always have good things hidden. Winston followed suit. It's because your requirements are too high, but there have been some breakthroughs recently, which should be able to meet your needs. 2 hours later, Sun Wuming left the Continental Hotel contentedly. He did gain something, 2 brand new wristbands, the file size has not changed, and the weight has reached 400 caddies each. There is also a vest that weighs 1,000 pounds. When he put it on, he jumped up and down like a normal person, not to mention the staff in the equipment department. Even Winston was shocked. I have to say that there is something about the black technology in this world. With several thousand caddies of counterweight hanging on his body, Sun Wuming finally felt that his body was not so floating, and he could support it for a while. As for the task, he planned to do it tomorrow night. The most important task now is to go home and sleep, otherwise he will be found sleeping in the hotel when Gwen Chagang tomorrow. That's definitely scarier than a fight with Thanos. Episode 10. Gwen's Black History. I can't get into it. Saturday. Osborne Industrial Building. Gwen was wearing a white coat, with silver-framed eyes. Her heroism disappeared a lot, replaced by a sense of intelligence. Under her leadership, a group of visiting students entered one high-tech laboratory after another. Why do I feel like Stacy knows more about this building than you do? Peter whispered to Harry beside him. Harry Osborne rolled his eyes. I'm just a useless rich second generation, and Stacy is someone who has been praised by several professors. Her authority is much higher than mine. Peter looked at his friend disdainfully. You are the prince of Osborne Industry. You are too careless about your own industry. What are you looking at? Is there anything wrong with wanting to be a rich second generation who eats and waits to die? Harry was furious. After turning around, Gwen saw that it was almost the same, and raised his voice slightly to warn. Okay, students can visit freely if they are interested, but please remember, don't touch any items at will, so as not to cause huge amounts of loss, or even hurt yourself. The crowd dispersed immediately, and Gwen finally had time to spare. Looking at the time, I think my big slob should wake up at this point. Gwen lowered his head and took out his mobile phone, opened the door of a laboratory, and sent a video request to Sun Wuming. Soon, the situation on Sun Wuming's side appeared on the phone. At the moment, he seemed to have just woken up and was eating breakfast. But when she saw the breakfast that Sun Wuming had, Gwen still couldn't help laughing. Her beautiful eyes bent into crescent moons. Eat a Big Mac early in the morning, it's still double-decker, and I'm not afraid of becoming a big fat man. On the other side, Sun Wuming silently adjusted the angle of the phone to prevent Gwen from seeing the other 20 burgers. Then a smirk curled up on the corner of his mouth. I can't help it. No matter how much I eat, I can't get fat. Unlike some people, the weight in the second year of junior high. Stop talking. Gwen's voice became thinner, and her earlobes were slightly red. This is all her dark history. When I first saw Sun Wuming eating Hesai, no matter how much I ate, I couldn't get fat. Little Gwen was very envious, and ate with him. After half a semester, my weight suddenly soared by 20 caddies, my little face became round twice visible to the naked eye, and my double chin appeared. Looking at Sun Wuming's unchanged appearance, little Gwen realized that he had been fooled. With tears in her eyes, Gwen spent half a year exercising hard before getting her figure back to normal, and because of the fitness, the body is in better shape. Since then, Gwen has regarded this experience as black history. Now that Sun Wuming mentioned it again, Gwen was so excited that she pressed her palm on the table and just happened to slap a spider to death. Spider? First off, I didn't offend any of you. Either way, you are dead, so I will bite you first. Oops, what's wrong, Gwen? Sun Wuming looked at the screen strangely. It's okay, I seem to have broken some experimental equipment. Gwen stuck out her tongue in embarrassment, and then said, I won't tell you now, I have to go and watch some visitors, and I can't let them wander around. Be good, you know? Sun Wuming nodded obediently, and Gwen hung up the phone in satisfaction. Looking at the spider that had been slapped to death by herself, she thought it had crawled in from somewhere, and she didn't pay much attention to it, and threw it directly into the trash can. After breakfast, Sun Wuming watched the news boringly for a while, mostly news about Stark Industries. As the best way for travelers to make money, he definitely didn't miss out on the stocks of Stark Industries. But he's not the kind of guy who buys on the dip when Stark announces that he's shutting down the arms department. Although he is a playboy, the world has never doubted Stark's ability to develop weapons. The share price is also rising. Every time he makes money, Sun Wuming will exchange part of the money for Stark Industries shares. Over the past few years, the stock price has doubled. You can get a lot of money in dividends every year. And now the timing is critical. When Tony won the Peace Award, Sun Wuming planned to sell all the stocks to avoid the subsequent sharp drop. It's a pity that after searching for a long time, it's all about the big dog who has slept with a certain cover girl and has an affair with a female celebrity. Then Godahu proved that it was not a scandal. Too envious. Bah, so shameless. Can you do whatever you want with money? Turning off the browser viciously, Sun Wuming has already planned. When will he steal from the rich and give to the poor? Go and see how John is doing? Being idle is also idle. Sun Wuming decided to visit his old friend to avoid any accidents to him. The perception force dispersed, and among the tens of millions of people in New York, Sun Wuming accurately captured John Wick's aura, changed his appearance, and teleported there. The Yadrat star has a wide range of teleportation, fast speed, and low consumption. The only disadvantage is that you must perceive the opponent's chi before you can teleport to the opponent's position. If you want to go to some uninhabited places, there is no way. Swish! The figure of Sun Wuming came over a church. In the church, John Wick was showing off his might and had to shoot twice at everyone. The original bright and holy church instantly became a purgatory on Earth. Thanks to the excellent matching mechanism in Europe and the United States, the surrounding residents have long been familiar with it. Some people even lay curiously on the windowsill, watching the bustle. A gust of wind blew through, and Sun Wuming walked into the church, ignoring the river of blood around him, and walked all the way down the secret room behind. I found John Wick, who was about to burn this place to ashes. Hey, wait, aren't you a waste? Looking at the jewels and cash all over the place in front of him, Sun Wuming became anxious and stopped him quickly. You are not short of money. I am short of money. I can hardly afford food. How did you come? John was startled by the sudden appearance of Sun Wuming. And then he was speechless to see that Sun Wuming skillfully took out a big bag and stuffed all the previous things into it. Some checks and ledgers that could not be cashed were left in disgust. How can I know you are so big-hearted if I don't come here, prodigal son? After stuffing the sack to the brim, Sun Wuming smiled. Carrying the sack in one hand, the other patted John on the shoulder with satisfaction. Let's go, let's find that big together. Don't worry, I'll take a look and promise not to go in.